If you're a father and you're dealing with custody issues, there are certain stereotypes and myths about dads that you have to overcome. In order to be successful in your custody case, you really have to know what those myths are and how to handle them when you're dealing with the court system, because whether you like it or not, they are going to impact your case. Today, we're going to be tackling a sensitive yet crucial topic, and that's challenging stereotypes about fathers in custody battles. It's time to dispel some common myths and shed light on the truth behind these assumptions. Myth number 1. Mothers are naturally better caregivers. This is an extremely prevalent myth that mothers are, for some reason, naturally better caregivers than fathers are. And this is a stereotype that can, has, and will continue to influence custody decisions. However, it's really important to recognize that caregiving is not inherently linked to gender. As you already know, fathers are equally capable of providing nurturing, effective, loving parenting to their children as their female counterparts might be. Studies have shown that children benefit from the active involvement of fathers in their lives just as much as they do from having that active involvement come from their mothers. Some courts, unfortunately, have been slow to acknowledge this fact in their decisions, and those courts, unfortunately again, continue to focus on traditional gender roles, and they don't actually focus on what the best interests of the child are. So this is a myth that, as a father in a custody case, you really have to focus on and pinpoint your role in your child or children's life and exactly what benefit you bring to your children, which should be relatively straightforward as long as you're thinking about it beforehand. Myth number 2. Fathers only want custody to avoid paying child support. But the reason that this myth stays around is because it's so effective in diminishing the opportunities that fathers have to spend with their children in custody scenarios. This myth is not only unfair, but it also overlooks the true, loving, and genuine interest that many, many fathers have in being actively involved in their children's lives. In Maryland, child support is a relatively straightforward calculation. It only looks at a couple of figures in order to come to its conclusion. And those figures are the number of overnights that the child spends with each parent, the parents' incomes, and the parents' expenditures on certain expenses related to the minor children, which are going to be health insurance, work-related childcare, and extraordinary medical expenses that are not covered by health insurance. Child support isn't really something that can be fought against. It is a input and output derived algorithm that the court is never going to stray from. So when fathers are fighting for custody, my clients are fighting to see their children, even if they're being disparaged by the other side, who says that they're only trying to see their children because of child support. And if you take a step back and unravel that argument a little bit, it becomes clear that if you're a father and you're asking for more custody, let's say just for the sake of argument, to avoid child support, that doesn't really make sense, because you're going to end up spending that money on your kids when your kids are with you, because the only way, once again, to operate that lever of how much child support you end up paying is through pulling the lever of how many overnights the child or children spend with you per year. It's crucial for courts and society to recognize the emotional and physical contributions that fathers wish to make, and that their participation in their children's lives is not just dollar signs on a spreadsheet. It's a real relationship with their children that really no price tag can be put on. Myth number 3. Fathers are less capable of meeting their children's emotional needs. Now, this myth really underestimates the emotional bonds that fathers share with their children. As you already know, fathers play a critical role in the emotional, social, physical, and other areas of development of their children. In fact, studies have shown that paternal involvement has been linked to better social, academic, and psychological outcomes for children, as opposed to those outcomes for children that did not have their father as strongly present in their lives. Myth number 4. The legal system always favors mothers. Historically, it is true that the legal system has been biased towards mothers in custody cases. It's also true that some modern family law courts strive to evaluate both parents on equal footing, focusing on the welfare of the child or children as the paramount concern. However, judges are human. Judges still have biases, and some of those biases are inevitably going to be the bias that mothers are better caretakers of children, or mothers are better able to support the children's emotional needs, for example. So it's important to understand what those biases are, how they come about, and how to deconstruct, address, and ultimately destroy them when you find yourself in a court scenario. So, if you're a father facing a custody battle, it's important to understand your rights, the biases that you're dealing with, and how to present your case effectively. And I want to wrap up with just a couple of tips. Number 1, document your involvement in your child's life. As a father, I know that you have a close and bonded relationship with your child. And while it may seem rudimentary, thinking of the step-by-step process of how you interact with your child or children from the time that they wake up in the morning until the time that they go down to bed at night is going to be important for you to demonstrate the bond that you have with your children. Just by way of personal anecdote, I've gone through my own contested custody battle in court, and one of the things that really stood out to the court is how I detailed just the little things that I did with my daughter on a day-to-day basis to really show that bond. And this is things like what kind of things we eat for breakfast, or what kind of music we listen to, or what kind of things we do on the weekend. Having concrete examples of the things that you do for and with your children is going to be extremely important for you to paint a picture of your role in your children's lives. Tip number 2, seek legal advice early to understand your rights and prepare your case. If you're a father, unfortunately, it is an uphill climb to succeed and or prevail in a custody battle. However, it's not impossible. So talking to somebody and getting the advice and counsel of somebody who has done this before and who has effectively represented fathers in getting custodial rights of their children is absolutely paramount for you when you are trying to achieve that same result. And finally, stay focused on your child's best interests and demonstrate how your involvement benefits them. Very often in my practice, I see fathers who really want to go on the offensive against the mother and talk about how the mother is a bad parent, and then at the end of the day are asking for 50-50 custody. The time and legal capital, as it were, that you have as a father in a custody case is much better spent building yourself up as a father, talking about how great your relationship is with your child, and talking about why your child needs you in their life. Courts know that you and your soon-to-be ex or already ex don't get along. That's why you're in court. So you really don't need to belabor that point. But what they don't know is what your role in your child's life is. And that's really what it's your job to say, is how you are a good parent and how you are necessary to be in your child's life. Because the other side's going to be saying that you're not, and you need to counter that with facts as to why you are. Remember, dismantling stereotypes is not just about changing laws, but it's also about changing minds. The judge on the bench is a human being, and you need to point out to them that you are a good parent and you need to be in your child's life. The more we talk about and recognize the valuable role that fathers play in children's upbringing, the more balanced and fair custody decisions can and will become in the future. My name's Chris Kaczmarek, and I'm a family law attorney focusing on fathers' rights, men's rights, and children's rights in the state of Maryland. If you're a man dealing with divorce or child custody issues, you deserve and need an attorney that understands these issues, understands deconstructing biases, and can help you get the best shot that you can in your custody case. Please give me a call so that we can start formulating your own strategy for your custody case.